Diana Ross's voice could melt a room, but her bedroom whispers echoed just as loudly. Behind the diamonds, designer gowns, and sold-out arenas was a trail of powerful lovers, secret affairs, and relationships caught between passion and power. From boardrooms to backstages, her love life became a battlefield of ambition, jealousy, and desire. This is the untold, controversial story of Diana Ross's scandalous life. At just 15, Diana Ross, Mary Wilson, Florence Ballard, and Barbara Martin were four ambitious girls clawing their way out of Detroit's housing projects. They called themselves the Primettes, but had no real identity and remained in the shadow of their male counterpart, the Primes. However, that changed in 1961 when Berry Gordy's Motown scooped them up. Overnight, they were reborn as the Supremes. And at the center of it all was Diana, the undeniable crown jewel of Motown. Within 3 electric years, the group became bigger than they ever imagined. The girls became more polished and sexier than anyone expected, but as the fame grew, so did the tension. The spotlight focused more on Diana, and people began to wonder, was Diana really rising on talent alone, or was her high-heeled climb to the top helped by someone pulling the strings behind closed doors, maybe even from beneath the sheets? In the mid-60s, Motown was a hit-making machine, and Berry Gordy was the slick, sharp-dressed puppet master at its center. 14 years her senior, Berry wasn't just the man signing Diana's checks, he was also slipping into her private life, one power move at a time. Behind studio doors, rumors began to spread about the two. Gordy's clear favoritism toward Diana reshaped the group's dynamic. He even publicly sabotaged the group's co-lead, Florence Ballard, to make Diana the group's centerpiece. By frequently criticizing Florence's weight and appearance, Gordy broke her down mentally and stripped her of her confidence. Feeling helpless, she became depressed, and it was in this dark time that she turned to alcohol. But after a drunken performance, Gordy did not think twice about firing her and replacing her with Cindy Birdsong in a blink. The speculation surrounding Diana and the then-married Gordy only intensified after that, but Diana didn't care what people thought. To her, she wasn't just Gordy's plaything. They were in love, and she would let the love bloom even if the world saw it as her chasing favoritism. Many fans did not know that while Diana's affair with Gordy made headlines, she was also seeing her fellow Motown artist Eddie Kendricks. According to Eddie's daughter, the duo started dating during their prime and primette days, but they had to cool things down because of Motown's opportunity. However, in 1965, after Eddie had married, Diana became a regular visitor at his place and picked up their steamy fling from where they stopped years ago. Their scandalous escapades became so hard to hide that the record label had to step in, not just because it would ruin their top artist's reputation, but because Gordy had grown jealous too. Around the same time, while working closely with the famous fashion photographer Francesco Scavullo, Diana had raunchy sessions with the gay photographer. Despite his sexual orientation, he could hardly resist the musician's intense allure and fell hopelessly for her seduction. After dating for nearly half a decade, Diana and Berry Gordy shockingly parted ways in 1970. Their split came after Diana learned she wasn't the only woman in his life. Gordy had several young women on the side, and Diana wasn't having it. She was no longer the rising star who needed to play blind. Her bedroom diary took a juicy detour when she hooked up with none other than Warren Beatty, Hollywood's serial heartbreaker, and just as anyone would have guessed, it didn't last long. Still, their steamy fling was hot enough to send the tabloids into a frenzy. Like Gordy, Beatty was a known womanizer, and Diana was craving something steady, a fresh start with no strings attached. That's when Robert Ellis Silberstein stepped into the picture. He wasn't just wealthy and well-connected, he was calm, stable, and ready to give Diana what her past lovers never could: peace, a clean slate. Within months of meeting, Diana and Robert married in a whirlwind romance that stunned fans. Just weeks later, Diana gave birth to a baby girl, Rhonda. The couple posed proudly for the cameras, all smiles and champagne toasts, while the press talked endlessly about their seemingly perfect love story. But behind those glossy magazine covers was a scandal hotter than any Motown track. Rhonda wasn't Robert's daughter. She was Berry Gordy's, and Robert knew it, so did Gordy. According to Rhonda in later interviews, Gordy visited often, brought lavish gifts, and was always Uncle Berry, her mother's boss and friend. Diana and Robert's marriage looked like the ultimate act of loyalty. Together, they had 2 more daughters, Tracy Ellis Ross, and Chudney Ross, and formed the picture-perfect family. But perfection, as always, was a performance. Robert was devoted, no doubt, but he was only one man trying to anchor a household built on half-truths, lingering exes, and the white-hot burn of global fame. Diana, it turned out, still had a thing for the dangerous men who made the headlines and broke the rules. In a bombshell 2023 interview, Smokey Robinson revealed that he and Diana had a full-blown affair while she was married to Robert. And the twist to this confession is that Smokey was married to Diana's close friend, Claudette. According to him, the affair lasted nearly a year before Diana ended things, when he told her that he still loved his wife and wasn't going to leave her. Eventually, Diana grew tired of pretending, and in 1977, she and Robert quietly called it quits. Barely a breath later, she was tangled up with Jon Voight. He went from Hollywood hotshot to Diana's leading man almost overnight. They immediately became the most talked about couple as they flaunted, flirted, and fed the media frenzy in public, and privately, they worked on projects together. But like most of Diana's romances, this did not last either, and her list of lovers only grew longer. Diana's relationship with Kiss's Gene Simmons in the early 80s was a twist that no one could have imagined, mainly because he had just had a very public and messy breakup with Sherilyn Sarkisian, Diana's close friend. People were starting to notice the pattern. Diana intensely coveted things that were not hers, and would do just about anything to get them. Diana and Simmons got so affectionately close that he even introduced her to his mother. Still, this whirlwind romance collapsed when Simmons decided to settle down with the model, Shannon Tweed. They were deeply mistaken if anyone had thought that Diana was the victim here. While in a relationship with Simmons, Diana also double-timed with actor Ryan O'Neal. She boldly dated across genres, reputations, and expectations, refusing to fit into any mold the public tried to place her in. After Ryan, she was briefly with Richard Gere. Although they barely appeared in public places together, the tabloids still had a field day, and they became Hollywood's dream couple during their short-lived romance. Years later, the icon first crossed paths with her future husband, Arne Naess Jr., on Barbados Beach in 1984, while on vacation with her children. They dated for just a year before tying the knot. It seemed as though Diana had finally found a lasting home. She even described their marriage as a series of sexy honeymoons. Together they had 2 sons, and Diana would later describe her marriage to Naess as the most grounded chapter of her life. However, the truth about life behind the gates of their lavish homes was far from glamorous. Diana and Naess spent most of their married life living thousands of miles apart, as she spent most of her time in Connecticut and New York while he was in London. Over time, the press caught a whiff of what was happening in the marriage, and reports of Naess being dissatisfied with being called Mr. Ross began to pop up frequently. In 1999, he announced in a television interview that they were separated. People began to dig deeper, and one thing that kept coming up was how much Naess found Diana's extravagant spending annoying. From reportedly spending $25,000 a month on private jets and $1,000 a month on lipstick, the businessman in Naess did not seem to respect how she used money. The couple formally divorced in 2009 as amicably as possible. Still, 4 years later, her world was shattered entirely when Naess passed away after a climbing accident in South Africa. Although they were no longer together, Diana was devastated, calling the billionaire the love of her life. In the early 2000s, Diana's dating life made the rumor mill again. This time, the new guy was Michael Bloomberg, the then billionaire mayor of New York City. According to gossip segments, they were quietly seeing each other, but the buzz didn't last long. The fling ended quickly, just the way it started. The duo refused to confirm or deny the rumors publicly, and all persistent journalists could get from Bloomberg was a casual comment about taking Diana on a dinner date. Despite all her rumored and confirmed relationships, the one that really got people hooked was the speculation between her and the much younger Michael Jackson. They had become friends when Motown Records introduced the soon-to-be legend and the Jackson 5 to the world. For decades, Michael and Diana's relationship looked very platonic, between an older musician and a fast-rising talent. Still, over time, people could notice how close they had gotten. What sparked the furious media campaign that they had a thing was when Michael revealed in an interview that she was one of his best friends and that he had no issues sharing his most private secrets. He also confessed that he had often told her he would marry her. Nonetheless, both singers publicly denied any romantic involvement with each other, even though they continued to have a close bond, attending events together and praising each other's songs. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll enjoy the one on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you at the next one.